Introduction to quadratic equation. Quadratic equation. Quadratic equation. So quadratic equation is in the form of ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. This is the standard form of quadratic equation. Ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. I'll give some example. See, 3x square plus 5x plus 3 is equal to 0. Here, this is the example for quadratic equation. Here we must see the variable, only one kind of variable should be there. Say x square and x. So only one kind of variable. The highest degree of that variable should be 2. Then that equation we'll call it as quadratic equation. And see here one more example. 5x square plus 3x plus 8 is equal to 0. See here, all are x. See, variable here also we have x, and even variable here also we have x. But the highest degree of this x is 2. The equation which has highest degree of the variable is 2, then this equation we will call it as quadratic equation. So only one kind of variable should be there. Here x square means here also x should be there, and one constant. And here y square means here also y should be there. Here yes, one more example. See, a square plus 3a plus 5 is equal to 0. This is also example for quadratic equation. See here, a square and only one kind of variable. Here also we have a, here also we have a, and here the highest degree of this variable is 2. That's why this is an example for quadratic equation. And which are not quadratic equation, I am going to tell. See, the powers in the negative. See, a plus 5 is equal to 0. This is not the example for quadratic equation. The power should be a positive power should be there. If the variable has a negative power, then this is not the quadratic equation. One more, see, a by 1 by a plus 5, so is equal to 0. And the variable should not be in the denominator. Then it is not a quadratic equation. Then we need to take LCM and convert it to positive power. Then we have to do. So the thing is, two things we have to keep in our mind. One is the all quadratic equations are in the form of ax square bx c is equal to 0. Here x is the variable and a, b, c are the constants. Any number we can write. A, b, c we can write any number, but one variable, and the degree of the variable should be 2. The highest degree of the variable should be 2. So example, 3x square plus 5x plus 3 is equal to 0. Here the variable, only one kind of variable, that is x, and the degree of that variable, highest degree of x is 2. That's why this is example for quadratic equation. See here, 5x square plus 3x plus 8 is also example for quadratic equation. A square plus 3a plus 5 is equal to 0 is also example for quadratic equation. Here because we have a square, both the sides we have a as a variable and the degree of the variable is 2, so it is called as quadratic equation. One thing we need to keep in our mind, that the power should not be negative. If the power should be negative, then it is not a quadratic equation. And the variable, it is in the denominator, then it is not the quadratic equation. If you take it up also, the power will be minus 1. So it is not a quadratic equation. In quadratic equation, we have two types. So two types of quadratic equation. Types. Number 1, pure quadratic equation. Pure quadratic equation. Pure quadratic equation. In this quadratic, already we know what is quadratic equation. So in this quadratic equation, I'll give some example. 5x square plus 8 is equal to 0. It's a pure quadratic equation. Because here bx, we don't see this bx. Bx is not there. Only we have ax square and c. So square should be there. One variable square should be there. That is there. That's why it's a quadratic equation. And so bx is not there, so it is called as, so it is in the form of ax square plus c is equal to 0. There is no bx. There is no number with the variable x, only one square and one constant. Then this type of quadratic equation we will call it as pure quadratic equation. Next, second type, unaffected quadratic equation. What is unaffected quadratic equation? Unaffected quadratic equation is in the form of ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. 5x square plus 8x plus 3 is equal to 0. Here we have bx also. Here we have bx also. See, ax square means 5x square, bx 8x and c 3 is equal to 0. We have all kind of ax square, bx plus c, 5x square, 8x. This type of quadratic equation we will call it as unaffected quadratic equation. Whereas there is no bx form, then it is called as only pure quadratic equation. And you must know, see, only if they give 5x plus 3 is equal to 0, it is not a quadratic equation. So because one variable, the highest degree should be square, then only we will call it as quadratic equation. If constant is not there, see, if they give only 5x square, yes, it is a quadratic equation. If they give 5x square plus 3 is equal to 0 should be there, then it is a quadratic equation. But if they give only 8, it is not a quadratic equation. If they give only 3x is equal to 0, it is not a quadratic equation. Quadratic equation must contain a variable and the degree of the variable should be 2, then it is called as quadratic equation. And if all kinds ax square plus bx plus c all are there, it is called as unaffected quadratic equation. If only ax square and c constant is there is no bx, it is called as pure quadratic equation. One more time, just I'll review. All quadratic equation are in the form of ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Example, for 3x square plus 5x plus 3 is equal to 0. And 5x square 3x plus 8 is equal to 0 is also one more kind of quadratic equation. Or we can give 3a square, 3a and 5. Only one here we need to concentrate. Only one kind of variable should be there. And one more thing, the highest degree of the variable should be 2. Then it is called as quadratic equation. So if the degree is negative, it is not a quadratic equation. If the variable in the denominator, it is not a quadratic equation. We must convert by taking LCM, that we will do later. Okay. Then in types of quadratic equation, in the quadratic equation there are two types. One is a pure quadratic equation, means there is no bx form. Only it is in the form of ax square plus c. There is no middle number here. If middle number is absent, then it is called as a pure quadratic equation. If all ax square plus bx plus c all are there, then it is called as unaffected quadratic equation. And thing is, only there is no x square, it is not a quadratic equation. Then the highest degree, see this square is there, other two are not, no problem, it is a quadratic equation. Then the first number, last number is there, then square is there, variable is there, yes. Then only constant, no. Only dx form, no. The square should be there. And if they give two variables like 5x square plus a plus 3 is equal to 0, it is also, then this full we have to consider as a constant. Then this square should be there. Okay, square should be there. Then we will call it as quadratic equation.